Hey, and welcome back to the Art of a Life Well Lived. I am Christine Regan Lake, and it's good to be here again. If you are new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope that you find value in the subjects that I talk about. And if there's anything specific you'd like me to talk about, please list it in the comments or send me an email. My contact information is in the description box. I always want to be providing value that is what my audience wants and needs to hear. And I try to usually get about 2 videos out a week. And so there you go. If you haven't liked, subscribed, or shared any of my videos, I would love if you could do that. Only if you find value, of course, just so other people can get access to this information. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? So today we're going to talk about 12 signs of a female narcissist. Okay, so 12 signs. So now, when I talk about a narcissist, I'm not just talking about interpersonal relationships. A female narcissist could be anyone. It could be your mother. It could be a female sibling. It could be a girlfriend, a friend in your friend circle. It could be a boss, anywhere, right? So a narcissist is a narcissist, and they're going to, if they show up anywhere in your life, it's just good to know what their traits are and stuff like that. So for a female narcissist, one of the things is she refuses to respect interpersonal boundaries. So, if you are trying to put up your boundary about what does or doesn't work for you, she's going to step all over that, right? So if you're saying, I really don't want to do this, I'm really too tired to go out to dinner tonight, I had a horrendous work day or whatever, she's going to pout and she's going to be like, I really, really want to go out. I've been sitting, looking forward to this all day or whatever. And so they will try to guilt you into doing what they want because they're dead set on having their way, even if getting their way violates your boundaries, doesn't respect where you're at, and doesn't really take into consideration what your needs are, right? So this could be like a girlfriend or a wife who just constantly puts more things upon you, doesn't carry her weight in the marriage, doesn't carry her weight in the relationship, things like that. So she will completely step over and walk over your boundaries, and expect you to be okay with that, right? So she'll violate your boundaries and then will get really, kind of uppity if you're not okay with that, or if you put up any kind of resistance to the fact that that doesn't really work for you. Okay, so that's the first one. The second one is that if you ever notice, like when they trigger you and they hurt your feelings, they actually think it's kind of funny, right? So there's kind of like this mean little streak to them that they actually take pleasure in your pain, that they were able to, tweak you or whatever. So they slip you a little dig, make a little negative comment. Oh, that doesn't look good. Have you gained weight? Things like that. And then when you respond and you have that feeling of like hurt and like, why would you say something like that? They think it's funny and they'll kind of giggle and be like, I was just kidding, that kind of thing. So it's really one of the things that I really don't like about sarcasm. And I come from an Irish family. We are full of sarcasm in our house, but there's a way to do sarcasm that is not degrading. So certain, sarcasm is specifically designed to really just be a poisoned arrow that's wrapped in humor, and then they'll follow with a laugh. And then when you take offense to it and you're like, that wasn't a nice thing to say, then they'll come back with, I was just kidding. You don't have any sense of humor, things like that. And they will refuse to actually take account your feelings about what they said, how it hurt you, and things like that. So the first one is refuses to respect interpersonal boundaries. The second one is they take pleasure in your pain and they think it's funny. Okay, so what's the third one? So the third one is, and this is very standard fare for a narcissist and definitely for women, is they will try to ruin your other relationships. So if this could be in a friend circle, this might be a female friend who doesn't like the fact that you're getting close to another friend and she's really jealous. So then she will start putting poison words into your mouth against that other person. They will, if this is a sibling, maybe you have a female sibling and she doesn't like who you're dating, things like that. She'll start, dropping little poison arrows in your ear against the person you're dating, or it's maybe your spouse, right? So maybe you have a female sister who doesn't like your wife, or, she's going to poison you against that other person, and she's going to triangulate you. She's going to try to separate you from your spouse. And this is very, very, triangulation is a very standard operating procedure for a narcissist. A lot of this triangulation you can see start early in family dynamics, how parents can do it. Sometimes parents will triangulate the children against the other parent, things like that. So if you notice that someone is speaking badly into your ear about someone that you love, you might want to really take notice and say, does this person really care about me? Or is this person, really being vindictive? Are they being narcissistic? It's really important to identify the people in your sphere of influence who have, if they're not full-blown narcissists, have strong narcissistic tendencies, because that is poison for your life and your interpersonal relationships. And you just need to be proactive about protecting the people in your circle from someone who may be wanting to speak evil into your ears about that person. Maybe they're jealous of them. Maybe they just don't like it. Maybe they don't like the fact that you care about that other person, and they don't, whatever. There's a lot of people have a lot of own specific motivations as to why they do something. But if someone is speaking evil into your ear about someone that you love, and what they're saying really doesn't resonate in your soul, it's not like this is someone truly telling you something that they care about, but it's more just trying to poison you against them, then you really need to wake up, open your eyes, step back, and get some perspective. And you'll want to protect your relationship. If your mother or your sister is trying to poison you against your girlfriend or your spouse or whatever. Okay, so the next one. So the fourth one is that she only talks about herself. Now, you know who this is, right? This is the person that no matter what the conversation is, like even if you're trying to share something that's going on with your life, it's like they are physically incapable of just giving you the space to have your time to talk about what's going on with you. They will immediately take whatever you say and turn it into a conversation about themselves. They're completely self-absorbed, and like I said, everything has to be about them. And you'll find it with regard to every situation, every topic or whatever. It's never, you never have the space. They are incapable of holding that space for you to communicate what's going on with you, what your stresses are in that moment, what your fears are in that moment, what your thoughts are, whatever, right? It automatically, they have to turn it back to them, because they literally can't, they need to be the center of attention 24/7. And you'll also find that these are the kinds of people that you find yourself, by the time you end up leaving, hanging out with them, you're physically exhausted. They suck all of the oxygen out of the room, because it's like they are absolutely forcing you to give all of your attention to them. Like there's never any balance back and forth, the balanced conversation about what's things that you want to share or whatever. The entire thing has to be about them, and you will be physically exhausted by the time you leave the hanging out with them. Okay, so the fifth one is they play the victim card. So everything about their life is they're the victim. They blame other people. They can't take personal accountability. They can't own their behavior. They can't own their mistakes. They are the big victim card, which honestly, when anyone is hanging out with someone in that scenario, it gets really old. It gets really played out. And it's very frustrating to be around that, people who just refuse to take responsibility for their own actions, and everything about their life is they're a victim. So anyway, so that is number 5. So number 6 is she blames you for her mistakes, right? So if, she does something and something, unfolds in the relationship and things aren't going well, it's all your fault, right? Nothing can actually be her fault. So what you're going to do is you'll talk to her about something that's not working for you. You'll communicate. So say you're communicating your feelings about, listen, we've been going out a little bit too much. I really want to maybe have some more quiet time, just the two of us or whatever. And, I just think that we need more alone time, things like that. She will blame you and be like, well, it's not my fault. Nothing will be her fault. It will be all your fault. To anything from dinner reservations to something not going right with the car or the taxes, whatever it is, everything is your fault. They take no responsibility for anything, which this is close to like the victim card, right? They're kind of like intertwined, the victim mentality and the blaming. They're really two sides of the same coin in terms of, one plays off of the other. So the seventh one is they can't take constructive criticism. They are extremely defensive about anything, even if you're like whatever it is. So say they wrote a report for something at work and they asked you to take a look at it, and then you give your honest feedback and you have some points that you think could be improved upon, and they'll get completely defensive, and they really didn't want your advice. They really don't want to make it better. They just wanted you to kind of blow smoke up their butt to tell them how great it was and things like that. So they really can't take constructive criticism. They get hyper defensive of anything that you say in terms of, and it doesn't matter how pure your intention is. They're just going to be hyper sensitive, and they cannot, they don't want feedback that's going to make them better, because they kind of already think they're perfect. So why would you need to improve anything if you're already a 10, right? So there you go. Okay, so number 8, no regard for your feelings, right? So when you say, hey, that kind of hurt my feelings, they refuse to take responsibility for that. They refuse to acknowledge that your feelings were hurt. And the reality is that nobody can tell you that your feelings are wrong. Now, it's important for you to understand that how something made you feel, right, could be a result of your own triggering. It could be your wounding. They could have said something completely neutral that you took as an insult because of your own wounding, or they could have said something that was truly just assertively mean, right? That was not a neutral statement. That was definitively something that was unkind. So you need to be able to discern for yourself. But when you do express your feelings that maybe something hurt your feelings, they're not gonna take ownership of it and apologize and say, listen, I'm so sorry if you misinterpreted that. This is whatever. Because the reality is, like, if you love someone, of course you don't want to hurt their feelings. Of course you don't want to make them feel bad. And so, I don't understand why people have such a problem, like, with, saying they're sorry. Like, miscommunication happens all the time. And if you truly love someone, of course, you'd say, listen, I'm so sorry if that's how you interpreted it. Like, I love you and I would never want to hurt your feelings. But for someone who is a narcissist, a female narcissist, she's not going to care if she hurt your feelings, because they're really disconnected from any kind of empathy, and so you're not going to get that empathy from them, because they just don't have it. Okay, so the next one is 9, the love bombing. So I've talked about love bombing in other videos as well. So a female narcissist very much can be utilizing love bombing when in your connection, in terms of fawning over you, giving you a ton of affection, things like that. A somatic narcissist more than likely will be very physical, could engage you very quickly in sexual connection to get you attached to them and things like that. So you want to be aware of and notice if you may be with somatic narcissists who will use sex and their physical body as a way to manipulate you. So just something to be aware of. Okay, number 10, she may be very materialistic. It's all about the money, baby, and it's all about, like, what did you buy me lately and things like that. So it's a very surface level, materialistic person who, just kind of wants an ever flowing stream of gifts and being taken care of and spending money on, and gifts are probably their love language. They want to be just on the continual receiving end of, receiving gifts from you and things like that. But just in general, very materialistic, very consumer, like obsessed with shopping and things like that. So it's just very, there's not a spiritual depth there. It's very surface level, materialistic image. What does everybody think of me? That kind of thing. Number 11 is that she kind of has this, like, puts herself on a pedestal and thinks that everybody's envious of her. Clearly, everyone's envious of me because I'm so beautiful. Clearly, everyone's envious of me because I'm so successful in my career. They have this massively inflated ego where they think everyone is jealous of them because of how beautiful they are, how successful they are, what a beautiful personality they have. But it's this really overblown ego that makes them think that, for whatever reason, anybody who doesn't necessarily resonate with them, it's only because that person's jealous of me, and they're jealous of how pretty I am, and my life and my career and my whatever. So it's as you can see, there's a pattern to these behaviors and things like that, and it's really about someone. Obviously, a narcissist is someone who is extremely has an extreme overinflated ego, who thinks they are superior to everybody else. Everyone is beneath them. Their needs are the only needs that matter in a relationship, and your needs are just whatever, just passing. And so the last one is that number 12 is that she will use sex as a weapon. So a lot of times female narcissists, they will either use sex to manipulate you in terms of like getting you to do things that they want, or they'll withhold sex as a punishment to you because they want to punish you for something. So you're just cut off. There is no sex, which is a very destructive, creating an environment where there's no sex in the relationship because someone is withholding is a very, very tricky thing to do. It's a very dangerous path to go down if you want to retain that relationship long term, because cutting someone off sexually in a relationship, it's completely selfish to think that you're going to expect someone to stay in a relationship with you while you're not giving them sex, and yet you're supposed to be in a monogamous relationship, so they're expected to just go without sex, which is completely delusional of the person doing it. But the people who are doing it, the women who are doing it, that are cutting off sex for their husbands or their boyfriends, whatever, that they don't really care, right? Like all they know is that they're going to use sex as a weapon, and for whatever reason they've decided that you've done something that now has entitled them to say, I'm withholding sex for you. And it's a way to punish you and manipulate you and control you, and it's really vicious, and it's very destructive to the person on the receiving end of it, the sexual rejection and the self-worth and self-esteem issues that it creates. So it's very mean and it's very vicious. But that is the 12th one. So I'll recap them again. First one is they refuse to accept your boundaries. They will violate your boundaries at a whim, not acknowledging that your wants, needs, and desires matter. The second thing is that they will actually take pleasure in your pain. They will take pleasure in insulting you, putting you down, making sarcastic digs. They'll think it's funny that your feelings get hurt. The third thing is they will try to ruin your relationships with other people, with your siblings, with your spouse, with your coworkers, with your other girlfriends in the network, whatever it is. The fourth thing is nonstop they will talk about themselves. No matter what conversation comes up, it will automatically be forced to be returned around to them, and it'll be talking about them nonstop. You'll leave those connections feeling completely exhausted because they suck all of the oxygen out of the air, because everything has to be about them, and there's no space for you to be able to talk about the things that matter to you. Fifth thing is they'll play the victim card. They're constantly the person who's being abused or taken advantage of, and they're such a victim and nothing's ever their fault, things like that. Number 6 is that she'll blame you for her mistakes. Nothing is ever their fault. They always have to blame someone else for whatever is or isn't working in their life. They can't take constructive criticism. They're highly defensive when anybody tries to offer them some thoughts on how to maybe do something better or things like that. 8, she has no regard for your feelings. There's zero empathy. So narcissists, it seems like they say narcissists are completely cut off from any empathy, and it happened in childhood. So they cannot empathize with you. So your feelings don't really matter because they can't feel them. They can't feel empathy, so it doesn't really matter. The only feelings that matters is their feelings. 9, love bombing. They will bombard you with love, affection, and attention, and then they will use it at will, and then they will remove that love. That's another form of punishment, is just removing that love, right? So they'll love bomb you when they're happy with you and things like that, but when they're unhappy with you for some reason, they'll withdraw that love and they'll actually ignore you, which is even worse. Number 10 is she is materialistic, very surface oriented, not a lot of spiritual depth there. Everything's all about like image and how things are projected, how everyone perceives them from an external, things like that. Number 11, she's delusional in thinking that everyone is just jealous and envious of her. So if she doesn't connect with someone or someone doesn't resonate with her, her go-to answer is, well, they're just jealous of me, they're just envious of me because I'm so beautiful, I'm so successful, I'm so rich, I'm so whatever. So they have this grandiose delusional belief that everyone is jealous and envious of them. And number 12 is they use sex as a weapon. So they'll either use sex to manipulate you and entice you and get you to do things that they want, or they'll use it as a punishment in terms of withholding sex so that there is no sex in the relationship. So those are the 12 signs you could be dealing with a female narcissist. So if you have any thoughts or experiences, I would love to hear them. Please list it in the comments in the suggestion box. If you have any questions or thoughts you'd like to ask me, I would love to hear it. And I hope you found value in this. Have a beautiful day, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.